Hey, I'm Jess Hugo, personal trainer and nutritionist, and I am here to show you that life is messy, but we're doing it anyway. Welcome to Doing It Anyway, the podcast for building the life that you want without burning out. Let's get into it. Hello! Why am I, if you're watching the video, I'm obsessed with sitting in this spot at the moment. I feel like, when you're younger and you're like, you have nowhere to go but hang out in your room. That's still me now, honestly. I just sit on the ground. I'm just sitting on the ground all the time. I've got this comfy ass bed and I'm just sitting on the ground. Anyway, I've just been loving this spot lately, but April is such a weird time, especially if you are in New South Wales specifically. I was going to say Australia, but with the public holiday controversy, it's actually just New South Wales for now. There's so many holidays coming up. There's so many public holidays. We've just come off the back end of Easter. It's like school holidays as well. And I just feel like it feels really messy and weird, especially with daylight savings. Again, it's very like New South Wales, Victoria, Queenslanders, but with daylight savings finishing up, I just feel like so much has been going on. We're going into this new season. It honestly already feels like winter. It's like we've skipped a season and we're straight into winter. It's actually wild, but I just think with so many holidays, with so many changes, it's going to be so normal. If normal is a bad word, but let's just use it for now. Normal if your routine feels off, because there's just so much change going on and it's really hard to stay consistent in these ever-changing seasons. So I really want to talk about like why every holiday feels like you're starting over, why every change in your life feels like you're starting over, and it literally takes you back to square one. And I'm not going to lie, taking just a few weeks off actually sets you back like 4 to 6 weeks worth of effort. Every single time one of my goals falls off, I try to nip it in the bud straight away and have a conversation about it, because it's actually going to take us 4 to 6 weeks to get back into that place. Even holidays and things like that. I've had a couple of clients, weirdly, everyone went away at the same time. Super weird, jealous of you all. And they're only just now 3 to 4 weeks after the holiday are starting to get back into the swing of things. So I just want to preface with that number, because I feel like a lot of social media noise says like you should be able to completely maintain your weight and come back off a holiday with your habits solidified. You should be able to keep your habits 24/7. And I just feel like that's really unrealistic. And of course, I want you to get into the swing of things and keep your habits as much as possible. But it's so unrealistic that you're going to come back from a holiday of like 2 to 3 to 4 weeks even and just jump back into the swing of things, especially with depending on where you went, jet lag, all of the things. And sometimes our holidays don't turn out to be as relaxing as we thought they may have been. They might have started drama within the family. They may have started, rifts between you and friends or partners or whatever. And then you feel like maybe you're stressing about work throughout the time there. Maybe you're working on a big project and it just means like so much mental load was given to everything else going on. So sometimes we actually can come back off the end of holiday feeling like we need another holiday. And that's going to affect all of the things as well. So this is everything, not just Easter, but like Christmas, birthdays, summer, the season's changing. It just turns on to this whole thing of like, where is the track and how the fuck do I stay on it? And you're not alone in feeling like that, especially because think of your last few years. If you're not someone that is in like a one-on-one coaching space or getting any capacity of like coaching or help right now, think of how you normally navigate these seasons. And whilst I say that, don't take anything as like right or wrong. But what I always reflect to my girls is, a lot of them are like, okay, we've just navigated Easter together. We probably weren't working together last Easter, depending. I have some long-term clients that we definitely were, but most probably we weren't. So how did they navigate this Easter compared to last Easter? What did they do last Easter? Most of them reflected to me that they were really like off the rails, quote unquote. They were really struggling to stay on track, to not overeat and overindulge and emotional eat. Emotions really come up a lot in these holidays as well, with just always family being around, just more people at home, more pressures, all of these things. And I think as well, a lot of deadlines come with it as well, because we know that work and stuff is wrapping up for a few days. So it's like that little push before that long weekend. And it feels like we've worked all month for this long weekend. And then we just almost are disappointed by like everyone's home. Everything feels really, really stressful and like, what the fuck is going on? So I spoke to a lot of them and they were saying last season, last Easter, last long weekends, whatever, they would really overindulge, and until they felt sick, they were in a self-sabotage mode. They didn't really care. They knew that they had this goal of weight loss, but they didn't really care that it was unraveling on the weekend. And I know this is you. I know I completely see you in this because it is a conversation I have quite often. And I'm going to segue for like 1 millisecond. You know, it wouldn't be a podcast episode with me without a segue. But I just recently spoke to someone and she was messaging me about PT. And I was like, listen, I don't offer it without nutrition. And then she was like, the problem is I have a nutritionist. And I was like, let's just have a conversation because I would love to know. For me, some red flags arise when I hear I already have a nutritionist or whatever, only because I'm a bit of a control freak and I want to have control over all of it. And if you've worked with me one-to-one, you would know that I'm like really on top of your nutrition, really making sure that we are feeling correctly, especially for our workouts. And you guys know if you're a client that I literally call you the fuck out and I'm like, I know you haven't eaten before this or you haven't eaten enough before this, and I can tell really, really easily through watching videos, through seeing you in the gym, all of the things. So I'm such a little rat about that. I won't let you get past not eating. So I was like, no, I really want to take control of your nutrition, but I don't want to like change anything you're doing either. So like I'm so open to kind of hearing you out, having a conversation, and we'll see what we can figure out. And I was like in the back of my mind thinking there's 2 types of nutritionists and like dietitians and all of the things. The ones that are like me that are really on the money. They've gone through their own either weight loss or weight gain journey before. They really understand how food affects your body, what food we need, and all of the things to feel appropriately, to have energy throughout the day, to not have that 2 p.m. crash. And then there's other ones that are advising 1,200 calories. They're telling clients that they need to eat less than what a toddler's requirements are. And I was like really hoping it wasn't the latter. I was like, oh my fucking God, please tell me that this nutritionist isn't like this. Anyway, I jump on a call. I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to handle your nutrition, but I just need to know how much you're currently eating based off the guidance of your nutritionist. And she was like 1,300 calories. And I was like, oh, actually kill me right now. And I was like, I can't hold myself back. I'm going to tell this girl exactly what I'm feeling because she needs to know. She needs to know that like her nutritionist is setting her up to fail. Her nutritionist is putting her in such a bad position. And this is why we really need to do our research, jump on calls, all of the things. You girls already know that. But I was like, I'm going to assume now, based on the data you've told me, she told me her weight and what her goal weight was. Based on all that data, I'm going to assume that she's a fuck ton taller than me. I'm 160 centimeters. I'm going to assume she's in the 170s based on her goal weight and all of these things. So 1,300 calories. I don't even have, my tiniest client is like 150 centimeters, I think she is, which is very small. That's 10 centimeters below me and I'm already quite short. And we didn't even go that low with her calories, which I told her. I was like, listen, I have clients who are 20-ish centimeters shorter than you. I'm assuming. I didn't ask her height. I'm assuming. And they're eating more calories than that. Like those calories are not enough. Like we need to be eating more. And because we just came off the back end of Easter, I was like, so how did you go navigating the Easter long weekend? How do you go sticking to those calories? Like how's that all been feeling for you? And then she was like, oh, well, like I really overate on the long weekend and I thought I was going to be like 3 kilos up, which this tells me that she doesn't know a lot about like how much we can eat versus how much we gain, which there's nothing wrong with that. But what is her nutritionist doing here? You know what I mean? I'm like, where does she step in and advise her the fact that, yeah, you're going to have a bit more cravings probably on the long weekend because there's going to be so much chocolate around, there's family events, there's this and that. I actually want you to include it in because that's personally what I was doing with my clients. So I was kind of thinking she set her up to fail because realistically you have to eat 7,700 calories over your maintenance to gain 1 kilo of fat. And she thought she was going to gain 3 kilos in the long weekend, which means like mathematically she would have had to have been eating like 30,000 calories, but she obviously doesn't know that math side of things because her nutritionist almost set her up to fail, to be honest. And I was like, listen, I don't want to change anything you're doing. I don't want to like step in that way. But based on what you've just told me that you're so stressed that you're going to gain 3 kilos, is because you ate over your calories, right? And she was like, yeah, I like didn't stick to the 1,300 because it was so hard, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not surprised it feels hard right now. If we put you up in calories, you'd have more to work with. You would stick to it better. And I was like, by the way, just let me know, how did your weight come out on that weekend? And she was like, oh, I was like 500 grams up. And I was like, which is just water weight. But that tells me that your body actually needs more calories if it's responding in that way. You are eating so low right now that when you actually went up by eating the Easter chocolates and all of the things, you still stayed pretty much within your deficit/maintenance. I don't know how over she went and stuff, but I was like, your body actually doesn't need to be that low. You were starving yourself for no reason. And I don't know, long story short, her nutritionist advised that she starts training, which is why she wants to work with me. I said, did your nutritionist give you like any idea about, extra calories for training? Because now we're going to be increasing your output. We need to be having some more input because you're already quite low. Now, normally we don't eat back our calories, but she's quite low. So I'm like, we need something to work with because I'm not having you walk in here underfueled, okay? And then she was like, let me ask. And then she asked, and then the nutritionist starts asking me. And I'm like, no, hold up. No, we're not doing that, because I either take over the full nutrition and you're fired, which she should, or this is none of my fucking business, which I don't love doing, as I said, but I can't control what I can't control, you know what I mean? So I was like, no, that's the nutritionist's job. Mind you, I don't know who this nutritionist is. I actually do not know, and I don't want to know because it's nothing personal, but oh my God, I am so sick of the industry creating such fear, not educating around holidays and weekends, not setting clients up for success. And this is like not me tooting my own horn, like whether you work with me or work with someone else, make sure that you're not getting cows that low. Like it just actually is such a red flag, and it's fear-based. She is putting her on such low calories. Her goal weight, she only wants to lose like 4 more kilos. I was like, so why the fuck are we so low? I was like, we could do that so easily. I was like, why are you so low? That makes no sense. I can't. I can't. And then I was like, she's setting you up to like keep gaining weight to then go back to her. I don't know all the context and stuff about that. I don't know, but I just think that going into these weekends, long weekends, it feels weird because like a lot of things are closed. We're almost like stuck at home, and people do panic buy. And I think it's because like our world really revolves around food. So we tend to, events have food, and when we're at home bored, we're eating, or we're watching a movie and we're eating and blah, 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 blah. So I think the long weekend can be really hard to navigate because nothing's open. There's nothing really to do but eat food at home. But that's why we lean into things like going for a walk, going to the gym. If you have a 24-hour gym, she's always open. Hanging out with friends in a capacity of like, let's get coffee and go for a walk rather than let's go eat out and like get breakfast out, you know what I mean? And even for me, like on the Good Friday, I was like, cool, I'm going to go to Pilates, I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to train some clients, and then I'm going to walk my dog. Like it was literally just like, that was half my day going to that. And it just felt good because I wasn't at home bored thinking, what am I going to do? This is so boring. Because then you get into this state of like bored eating and just snacking on things and not realizing that you're kind of eating them, not tracking them, of course. And then you're back at square one because you're already in the gym. You're already nailing all those things, right? It's just this food side of things. And that's what's keeping us a bit stuck, making us fall off track because we're not having enough flexibility in that routine. As I said, I just did all of those things, but I didn't make it so extreme. I didn't go, I have to wake up at X time, go to Pilates at X time, make sure I get into the gym at this time and go for a walk at this time. Yes, I was on a time schedule because I had some face-to-face, booked in, so obviously that was in my calendar, but I was like, I'm just gonna go at whatever time feels good for me. I'm gonna make sure it just feels flexible because then I know I'll get it done without having to race there and like it be a whole thing. And sometimes you realize like, oh, it was a little bit hot, it was really busy out, like maybe I should have gone at a different time. But like realistically, if I didn't go at all, I would have been in a worse place. I would have hated not going at all than going at a time that was like busy. And I think keeping up with this routine helps us really like not start over after the weekend and feel like we've just gained 3 kilos over the weekend, like now I'm going to give up. Like that is the mindset we get in when we know that's not reality. She obviously didn't gain 3 kilos. You obviously didn't gain 3 kilos. But when we get in that headspace, it's like, well, I'm not going to start over on Monday, especially normally when Monday is the public holiday as well. It's like, well, I'm not going to get back on track Tuesday. I might as well, like I've fucked it now. I may as well have the rest of the week off and maybe I'll try again next Monday. But next Monday rolls around and it feels really difficult as well. And it's just this constant cycle. Whereas if you just keep chipping away as often as possible, you're going to have a better outcome. So I know I've talked a lot about my client examples, all of the things, but we don't actually go through this every single holiday. We don't really go through it at all because we set up in such a good place where you can literally go on a 2-week cruise, come back the same weight, and then we just keep chipping away. Yes, admittedly, it feels fucking hard getting back into that routine, but we don't let things slip. Do I ever expect perfection? No. Actually, I did post this on my story yesterday. My clients get the results that they do because I am a brutally honest bitch. And I'm very direct and I'm very blunt, but it's because I want you to see results. And I kind of, probably 6 months ago, kind of said this to my business consultant. I was like, I am really direct and to the point, and I feel almost wrong for that. And then she was like, but why would they pay you to just make up shit? And I was like, that's exactly what I think. I'm like, I'm not here, like, this is my job. Yes, you're paying me, but I'm not here to keep you stuck forever and ever and ever so that you just keep paying me or think Jess sucks at her job. She doesn't get results. And I'm like, the reason that they pay me is because I'm good. I'm consistent. I'm honest. Like, I'm not going to, literally straight up, some of my clients will get a bit teary because I'm being so honest and real and I want them to win. And it's hard being called out. It's hard when someone like actually exposes your shit. You don't want to be called out and told that you're not doing enough, or you're not doing the right things, or you're focusing on the wrong things, or you're spending a lot of energy in this place rather than this place. You don't want to hear that. It's like your boyfriend telling you that you've been a bit of a brat lately and you're always like whinging and complaining about XYZ. You probably know deep down that you've been doing that, but it's really hard when it's like reflected back to you. And I almost act like a mirror for my girls because I can't stand here or sit here and open these messages and week after week have the same issues going on because you're not being like productive and you're not taking any action. So that is why I'm very honest and very blunt. And I think my girls always know that. And I try to show that that's my personality as much as possible online, but it's not in an icky like commando way. Like I'm thinking of like the commando from like The Biggest Loser, or like even The Biggest Loser in general. Like I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to be a cunt, but I'm like literally going to be like, I know you said you wanted this. So what are we doing about it? Just lovingly, I see you in all of this, but if we're not having the conversation, we're not doing hard things, then we're going to keep ourselves stuck. And what I see as well is a lot of girls, especially in their 30s, it's like almost a generational thing. I've seen it a lot with my clients that are like in their very early 30s. As soon as they start seeing really phenomenal results, they start self-sabotaging. They start walking into Woolworths, picking the wrong foods that they know are not going to help them, whether they're a trigger food, whether they're something that they know they can't necessarily fit into their calories and macros, and they just start slowly reverting back into old habits and things because their body has seen changes, and now they're like, oh, well, I can't maintain this anyway, so I'm just going to undo all my hard work. And then slowly they start putting back on weight. Slowly they start showing up to the gym less. And I am going to stand there and say, okay, why are we walking around Woolies and picking up these foods anyway? Why did you even have this in your cupboard? And whilst I'm saying that, I'm not saying like don't buy chocolate. Of course, all my clients buy chocolate, all of the things. But like if you know your trigger is a family block, why aren't we getting the little bag of Freddos? And if you eat the whole little bag of Freddos, fine. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But why are you getting the family block? Or with all the ice cream options out there, there's the low sugar ones, there's the protein ones, there's all these different healthier alternatives. Paddle pops are literally 90 calories. Why are we picking Ben & Jerry's? The biggest, most sugar high ever. You know what I mean? So we're going in with the intentions to self-sabotage, and we really need to catch ourselves in that. And I think sometimes the long weekend is like almost an opportunity to be more relaxed and to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to eat these foods because I don't get them very often and it's the long weekend. But that is where we come undone. So really watching our behaviors when we're walking around Woolworths this weekend and what we're actually like leaning towards and what we're thinking when we're getting these foods. And like also my hack of this is like never go to Woolworths hungry, because anytime I go hungry I want everything, and then I get home and I'm like, I don't even want this now. So you're probably just hungry. So going into any long weekend, any future holidays, any of the things I want you to think about is how can I keep my routine as consistent as possible, but just going at different times and like letting it be flexible in the times, but still maintaining that session and still maintaining our food and all of the things. Also remembering, just because you might be adding something more, like going into the winter season, netball starting or different sports are starting, adding that in doesn't mean we need to eat back those calories or drop sessions or change around anything else. We should be able to maintain our current routine whilst still adding something like netball on the weekends. If you can't, then we're not eating enough or we're not setting up our schedule properly and we're leaving things to the last minute. Something really common I see is like pushing workouts back to the end of the week. Then it's the long weekend. You don't want to do it. Then you have no time. Your body's feeling tired. Like obviously we don't want to necessarily be doing a workout on like a Sunday when we have netball on Saturday. We want to recover on the Sunday. So let's do that strength training session in the week. Let's not push everything out and then have our schedule become really hard to keep up with. Because if your plan can't survive a long weekend, a birthday, a season change, then it's not a good plan, to be frank. And it's not something that you're going to be able to sustain long term anyway, because you wouldn't need to get back on track if you had a routine that felt so good that you never needed to fall off. Your routine shouldn't be set for you to be able to fall off. The reason I can do the things I can do isn't because I'm better than anyone. It's because they just feel so easy to do, because I just make it happen without procrastinating it. Because procrastination, putting it to the back end of the week, makes it so hard to do. I make sure all my sessions are done by Friday. I make sure that everything I'm doing, if I'm doing it on the weekend, it's actually fun. Like genuinely, I wake up for the earliest Pilates class and I'm excited. I'm jumping out of bed. I'm not missing my alarm. I'm not snoozing. I'm not feeling sluggish because I genuinely want to be there and it's genuinely exciting. So let's actually romanticize our life a little bit more and stop feeling so miserable about everything, because what happens every single time we start over? We fall off track for 4 to 6 weeks and then we're starting over. And I know 6 weeks doesn't sound very long, but I was thinking about this the other day. I've talked about this before with the quarters. The quarters of the year are like, broken down into the 4 quarters, and then people talk about 75 hard and things like that. And I'm like, that's not even a whole quarter. Realistically, like 75 days to me sounds like really long, but then a quarter is 90 days. So like realistically, I'm like 75 is like 2 months and a bit. 2.5 months. So like, can we actually relax on the timeline and realize we have time when we're in a journey, but falling off means that we fall off for like 6 weeks. We're almost restarting again. And then we're only being on for 4 weeks, falling off again. And that's how we gain weight and get stuck in that trap. Now, I'm not very good at maths, so I hope I didn't fuck that up. I hope that made sense to you. But essentially, you're falling off for longer than you're on. And that's why we're stuck in a cycle. And that's why I see so many of you in a deficit like all year long. And it's not sustainable and it's not realistic. Back to the long weekend. If you're in the situation where you're in a deficit, I would honestly just recommend, if you're struggling to keep up with everything and stay in it, just spend the weekend at maintenance, because you're going to make more progress spending the weekend at maintenance than going completely over your deficit, probably overeating, eating over maintenance, and almost being back at square one by the time that the long weekend ends. That is all from me. When is the next long weekend? I don't even know, but you will slay it now. Come back to this episode, save it for later so that you can slay the next long weekend and just take the pressure off. There's so much pressure. There's so much overwhelm. Let's not make our health and fitness feel like pressure. Let's actually just make it fun. That is all from me. I'll catch you in the next one. Mwah. And that is a wrap on another episode of Doing It Anyway. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends, share it on your stories. And if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. Please shoot me a DM on Instagram. All my links are below. See you in the next episode.